off in this place, catching vibes, sit back and we blaze in the sky like I'm out of space.
What's going on, cigar world? What's going on, cigar enthusiasts? I'm Jack the cigar enthusiast, and we got
Johnny the cigar banker.
man, and we coming at you as the virtual smoke deck, man. How's everybody doing today? It's been about 2 weeks now.
It was 2 weeks, man.
We took that week off last week, so I can go enjoy myself in Jamaica.
How was vacation, man?
Man, vacation was actually good. Outside the fact that we almost got the fighting in Jamaica, and then you know, my mind instantly really got into check. Like, bro, you got too much to lose, and you don't want to go to jail in Jamaica. You feel me?
No,
so I was like, no. But do try to steal my sister-in-law phone. So and then when my wife and them went back on there, we on the beach kicking it, grooving. We got the rum punch going in, and hey, we feeling good, right? And so my wife comes back crying. Crying. What my wife crying for? She was like, they try to hold us on the boat till we. Nah, bro, we gotta go talk to it, man. They go talk real quick, man. And but more of the story, I'm a saved man. I found Jesus Christ.
Hey, and, listen, time out. Even Jesus laid hands.
Come on now, you better preach. You better preach. But no weapon formed against me shall prosper. So I said, you know what, man, we're gonna go ahead and continue on with this vacation. But it was good, man. It was much needed. It was the first vacation I really had since really opening. I mean, every place I've been so far has been work. I've been consumed with work. Man, I put down my phone. I told my staff, don't call me, man. And it was a good time. It was a good time. I almost got to run into our guest because I had to go to New Orleans for a same-day passport on Sunday. I landed. He had just landed at home, man. So it was good, man. How was your week, man?
Dude, it was great, man. We actually had some decent weather in South Carolina, man, for the first time. It's crazy because we got the cigar club growing, man. It's growing like wildfire. So I think we're up to 56 members, man. So we did a brunch on yesterday. Well, time out. It was supposed to be a brunch. We started at noon. We did brunch. I was in the kitchen whipping up some eggs, you know what I'm saying?
Come on.
And we hung out so long, we ended up cooking them some Alfredo for dinner, man.
Yeah.
We hung out at a member's house. I think we left about 10 o'clock, man. We had the bottles on deck, the champagne, the mimosas, the cigars, man. It was a vibe. It was the fire going. It was a vibe, man. It was a vibe.
Sound like y'all about to open up a cigar lounge or something.
We need to, man. It's coming. Oh, my goodness.
Seems like y'all got something cooking.
Oh, man, we got a regular fan base, so I mean, we can't complain, man. We can see what happens.
That's a fact. Hey, well, if you're new to the virtual smoke deck, man, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell, give us a huge thumbs up. Also, crash into that comment box, man. All comments go on the screen. We say what's up. We say hello. JJ, what's up, my guy? Glad to see you this week. Hope you had a great week, man. So make sure you get in the comment box. Say what's up to us. Any questions that you have, man, we got you. We're gonna get you covered. Also, man, if you're watching from Facebook, don't be the only one that had this amazing content at your fingertips, man. Go ahead and press that share button, press that follow button, press that like button, so we can get this thing really rocking, man. I'm excited about our guests. This is our first time, Johnny. Not only since you've been a host,
yes,
but since I started this podcast in 2020, right?
Yes.
This is our first time stepping outside of cigars.
Yes.
JJ Armando does still own the Crest City Cigar Shop in New Orleans.
Sis, what's good with your love?
What's up, baby girl? My beautiful wife checking in. The queen herself has popped her head outside the covers, and she's big chilling in the bed today. We was tired, man. Johnny, I told you about that story, but anyway. So anyway, this is our first time stepping out of what we normally do, right? We're big into cigar talk, and we're big into sitting down with the manufacturers and the big dogs in the industry, man. And today we're going a little different, man.
We're switching it up, but not switching it up because Jack, I always say this, and we're gonna introduce our guests. When I'm like, I say this, and I think I stole it from somewhere, but I'm not sure where. I always say, smoke the good shit and drink the good shit, and that's the philosophy of life. Yo, it don't get no simpler than that, dog.
Bro, absolutely not.
Don't put no BS smokes before my face, and don't pour no BS in that doggone glass, because I'm gonna hand it back to you, man. It's going back to you, dog.
So I hope he in the background. I hope he got him a good cigar. It's some good Scotch or bourbon. He's a big Scotch guy, big bourbon guy. So he better not be in the background, sleeping with some I don't know, some bullet or something like that, man. I'm gonna have to kick him off the show. And we're gonna
listen, a bullet in the blondie.
Well, man, our guest is a great guy, man. Very knowledgeable in AA. You see what Darnell told you? He said you gotta get that Army stuff out of him, man.
I show him, but there ain't no Navy up in there.
Hey, now. Hey, don't wear none of that stuff, man. Y'all keep y'all guns at your own house, okay? Protect your grounds. Anyway, man, stop getting sidetracked. Now, our guest today, man, is amazing. Influencer in the bourbon world, and this dude has been doing it very big. From bourbon tasting shows to being sponsored to bringing pairings to Africa from an African descent, man. This guy's been in magazines. This guy is well known in the industry, in the bourbon industry for sure. Whiskey, Scotch industry, man. This guy is really doing it, man. I'm gonna butcher his last name, but I'm gonna try not to, right? But introducing to the virtual smoke deck, we got Jack Beguedou, the Hood Sommelier. What's up, champ?
What up, y'all?
Hey, we appreciate you coming on to the show. We appreciate having you, man. Now you got to help us now. Now, how we pronounce that last name?
Yes.
It's like a drum roll. Beguedou.
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 Beguedou. Boy, I got it now. Yeah. Hey, all right. Let's go back to the background then. Introducing our guest of the hour, Jack Beguedou. What's up, man?
What up, y'all?
Hey, what's up, my guy? We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy Sunday, especially on your on Palm Sunday, to come sit down and talk cigars and bourbons with us, man. Man, how's your day going, champ?
Actually, y'all are special because I almost canceled on y'all. Because I'm judging the Ascot Fred Minnick Ascot Award. So I got literally about 75 samples of whiskey in my basement right now that I got to judge and go to for the award. So technically, the last time I had a cigar was last Sunday, because during judging season, I can't really smoke because I don't want to mess with my palate. But I found out we had an extension to judge till the end of the month. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have a cigar with y'all. And I'm gonna bring out some of the stuff that enjoy a moment with y'all. So I'm drinking, I'm smoking. I didn't even light up yet. I'm smoking my father Le Bijou.
Le Bijou, okay.
That's what I have on. I'm like, y'all are special, so I'm gonna bring some special.
Hey, you got to
with y'all.
Got to. What we sipping on over there, man?
So. Funny thing is, while we were having this, since I've been on the sauce all morning, tasting, what I like to enjoy with my with a cigar that I haven't had yet, since the cigar is a foreign part of the taste. I usually I have my water, of course, so I have my little latte here.
Yeah, that's it. Man, you cheating on it, man.
But what I love is I have a Bunnahabhain. This is a Bunnahabhain aged in a Bordeaux cask. So that's a peated whiskey from Ireland. So that's my favorite pour. So when I have a good time, that's what I pour to myself.
Hey, come on.
Good show.
Hey, this is about to be a good one. So I usually take an orange juice or a wine or something on the show, because the liquor just catch up to me too quick, right? So I don't want it to creep up on me in the middle of the show, and then all of a sudden I'm talking about some, hey Johnny, hey, you good? And Johnny looking at me like, Jack, you good?
Hey, you know, dog.
And we ain't gonna be no good at that time. So I usually say, actually, the funny part about it, Johnny has two. Johnny, what you drinking today?
Hey, I'm drinking some dirty coffee too, man. So I got some coffee with a little Woodford Reserve inside of it.
Okay,
some dirty coffee.
So I brought out something. So I you know, Jack, I don't compete. My selection versus your selection is just like my cigar selection versus your cigar selection. You know, we don't compete in those two. All right. So with that being said, I did try to bring out something special though.
Okay.
Right? I tried to bring out something special. I don't know how special it is. They don't say no limited nothing on it.
Brother, if that is an Oak and Eden bottle, I'm gonna need you to put it back and pull another bottle out.
Don't pull out this one.
If that's an Oak and Eden bottle, I'm gonna need you to take that bottle back and pull a regular bottle out. That's all I'm saying.
The show's over. The show's over.
This ain't a good one. Okay, hold on. This is all right. This is a private selection, though.
This is not what we're gonna do on this show. Okay. You say
okay.
I heard you when you came on the show. What you told me is we're gonna drink the good shit.
Okay.
And we're gonna smoke the good shit.
Oh shit.
That's all you said. That's what I heard.
Oh my God. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Now y'all see how good he is, right? Hey, the dude didn't even see the bottle, but hold on. I think I got something else, man.
Okay.
Can you tell what it is?
That's a Barstown
okay.
Bottle.
Hey, man, boy,
we can do that. That's a discovery. We can do that. Yeah.
I got the whole collection at home, boy.
Now we talking. Now welcome to the show, brother. Welcome to the show.
Okay. Hold on. I got something else. I'm gonna let you pick out of the clearly what I'm drinking ain't good enough. But,
oh man.
Hold on. What about this?
Okay, that's a Willet.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm still okay with that. But if we're gonna smoke a cigar, I definitely said the Discovery. The Discovery will be.
Hold on.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Hold on.
Yo, this gonna be a good show tonight, man.
Or should I do
that? We ain't like, you know what? I think we grown folks. We ain't what I like to call everybody and their baby mamas. So let's bring something that is not just a tater sticker. We ain't gonna be a cliche. You know what I'm saying? I'm a French guy, so I'm gonna use a French word to explain what we not gonna do is to be a cliche.
Tell us about this cliche thing. Tell us about it.
So one time I actually told people I personally own about 45 bottles of blends. Okay. And I own them.
I want to know why you can't find it.
So no, that's not it. One of the reason why is because I fell for the hype when I started in the whiskey industry, right? Yeah. When you get in the whiskey industry, what everybody say, oh, you need that little bottle with a horse on top of it. That's what make you great. Now, you know, me being I like to say the curious George that I am, I usually would dig deep to see what else is out there. So what the three things I've realized about blends is that, you know, the single barrel that we buy here, that's a regular 93 proof, was just the tip of the iceberg. So I went deeper in and realized that every major country that import whiskey has their own blend.
Yep.
So I got on a journey to find as many as I can of those countries, from the Takata Red to the green to the black to the gold to the silver to the Poland, Austria, La Maison du Whisky in France, to 6th edition of the Straight from the Barrel that went into Japan, and 4th edition of the Straight from the Barrel that went to France. All those I actually looked into. So if you understand how whiskey works, and if you're a student of whiskey, you almost by curiosity want to know what else is out there. Yeah. Now, it became one of the things I've decided about a year ago is that everybody want that bottle because everybody falls for that, for the hype. So what I use that bottle for only two things. Every time I have a fundraiser coming on, I make sure I take one of my regular blends and put it up so people can actually participate. I call it the honey to attract the flies, right? That's what it is. And anytime there is something important in my life, I will always open a blend straight from the barrel to actually have, because for me, that's the original juice. That's actually what I drink first. That and the Stag Junior, when I started back 5 years ago online, that's what inspired my tagline, "The truth is barrel proof." Yeah. Because that's how I realized that the blend that I was drinking here has nothing to do, couldn't even compete with the blend I was getting from Europe at that time. And that had
that's the green wrapper to it, right?
No, it's a brown and white.
Okay.
That's the straight from the barrel. The gold is encrypted on it all around. That's the gold. And obviously you have the green one is the Japanese one. So Japanese have three kinds. The Nakata red, the green, and the black.
Oh, come on. Hey, look. Hey, man, we're going to be students today. Yes. And very studious in this conversation, because I think, a lot of people ask, well, Jack, what do you drink with cigars? And, and I always tell people that at the end of the day, what you don't want is you don't want your cigar or your drink to overpower each other. You want them to complement each other, right? You want it's
how long you been in cigar, brother?
I've been smoking cigars for 11 years.
Okay, I've only been smoking cigars for 2 years.
Wow. Okay,
but I use the same method when I approach anything. Yeah, what's familiar and what's not familiar, right? That's always what I go by, because your palate is like an organism by itself, right? So you almost don't want to introduce something foreign into an organism in an environment that is not a controlled environment. Yeah. So the reason why is every time I have a new cigar, I always have two things that are familiar to me. One, water, because I know my water. I know how that tastes. And second, my favorite pour that I've been drinking for years, because I know what that tastes like. Yeah. So now when I have my pour and I smoke that cigar, what I start with before I have my pour is I enjoy at least the cigar till half of it. Yeah. Because now I know how the cigar is tasting. Now I introduce my control environment, which is that pour in. And immediately I know, I know exactly what this whiskey should taste like. But now that I introduce the cigar in, I see how the whiskey's tasting. Yeah. So that's how I approach my tasting method when it comes to cigar, because cigar is the new thing I'm learning. I know already whiskey. So every time I want to do it, I'm going to enjoy the cigar till half of it. And then I'm going to bring what I know in to know how does that affecting the taste of this cigar.
Yeah.
Johnny, 2 seconds. So I haven't been collecting bourbon long. I think I've been collecting bourbon for maybe a year and some change, maybe like 18 months. So my collection, obviously, I thought, you're gonna have to explain this to me.
You're still a baby.
You're gonna have to explain this to me. I don't like how you just made me feel about that Oka Eden, because I think that Oka Eden pretty good. But you're gonna have to explain something to me, because you just did me like this on my show in front of all these people. Talking about some put that away and get something good. We gonna explain this, okay? So first and foremost, when I get to it, to get to the real, like Johnny said, we're infants, we're babies in this. We know what we're looking for. We know, obviously, we're looking for higher barrel proofs. We're looking for double cast, single cast. Why? Mm-hmm. For me, and I may be absolutely wrong, but this is why I have you here. It's a fermentation process, just like it's in cigars. Okay?
Talk to us.
Let's go.
Talk to us, preacher.
Come on, talk to us.
So one thing you have to understand about whiskey, right? So if you study whiskey is what? It's grain, fermented, distilled, and you get your distillate, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Everything you mentioned have nothing to do with fermentation.
Okay.
I think the word you were using for is maturation.
Okay.
Maybe that's what you're looking for, because you have to understand that the base of every whiskey is all the same, right? The base from every whiskey is all the same. So if we start, is grain a certain type of grain? So it's either corn, rye, wheat, or we go into malt, or we moving into palm, or in some area of the country they use bamboo or they use rice. It's always a grain that is mashed, that is fermented, and then distilled, right? That's the process for every whiskey. Even when it comes to tequila, it's the same thing as the piña, the agave, the piña, that is mashed, fermented, and then distilled. Every process is the same.
Right.
It's just the type of grain or the mash bill that has been burned. Now, when you say you're looking for a specific type of whiskey and you want the barrel proof and whatnot, it cannot be that is because of the fermentation, right?
Okay.
Right. It has to be either because the type of grain that is used to make the whiskey is what you like. You like how it's fermented, and you like how it's matured. So is it mature in the oak barrel? Is it mature in the Bordeaux cask like me? Is it mature in the ex-bourbon barrel, right? But believe it or not every whiskey works at barrel proof.
Yeah.
Some whiskey weren't meant to be barrel proof.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why someone like me will love whiskey in barrel proof, or somebody will actually look for barrel proof, is because it gives them the opportunity to water the whiskey down if they need to, right?
Yeah.
Because for me, I said, don't cheapen me, right? If you're going to give it to me dirty, right? That's what I want. So I'm going to drip some water in because I can break it down to the ABV, alcohol by volume, that I want so I can enjoy it. But that's because I'm playing at expert level.
Yeah.
Right? But if I'm going to introduce, like when I do my classes and somebody want to know about bourbon right now, I'm not going to give him barrel proof. It's like you saying you're going to hoop, and I say, okay, here's LeBron, here's you trying to pass him, right? That can't work.
Come on.
I'm gonna start you at the regular ABV of 43% ABV to 45% ABV. Let you enjoy the whiskey as what I like to call the approachable level of it. And as we're doing it, I'm gonna gradually get you there. So if you're not somebody that's looking into putting some water into your whiskey, putting some ice in your whiskey, a splash of something in to bring it down, to study the spirit itself, I will never walk to someone and say, oh, when you go into whiskey, I'm gonna need you to start getting barrel proof. I would tell them, stay there. Don't go into high school when you want to start in primary school, right?
So it's more or less like in cigars, if somebody's coming in and we're not gonna give them a Maduro when they should be in a Connecticut.
Yeah.
You want to build their palate up to understand that. So you spoke about some, and Johnny, did you have something?
Man, listen, go ahead, man. Go ahead, because I got the questions coming. I'm going to talk.
Easy day. So, as you were just talking, right, you were talking about the ABV and breaking it down, adding water and different things to that process to really understand how to approach that ABV. Now talk to us about that. Like, how does that process from an expert standpoint actually work?
So, most whiskey, but the legal ABV of whiskey in America or a bourbon is 43% ABV.
Okay.
That's what it is. But anything that now you have to understand, when you say barrel proof, what it means is that when it got the entry proof of what it was, right? The entry proof, usually any proof cannot be over 100 and over 160 proof when it come off the still. Sometimes it's watered down. The ABV is brought down before it goes into the barrel. So let's say they put it in the barrel about 140 proof. That's when it went in the barrel. That's the entry proof. Now you have to understand, one thing people don't understand is that the rick house and where the barrels sit is a big deal, right?
Okay.
When it comes to whiskey, have you ever heard of the term angel share?
Angel share. I have.
All right. So if you ever walk into any rick house in a distillery, there is a distinctive smell that you get. The hotter it is, the stronger the smell is. Now, if you actually go back, I'm going to bring y'all back into history. Whiskey was first started by monk back in Eastern Europe. So everything that refer to whiskey usually have a low connotation to religion. When the whiskey dissipate and come up, when the heat it hits into the barrel and you have to dissipate, that evaporation of the whiskey that is lost by the heat is called angel share, because they say God is taking his cut, right? Yeah. That evaporation. So that can affect, that's what affect the taste of your whiskey, because the barrel expand and retract based on temperature. Yeah. So that's where you get all the juices that go into your whiskey. So the angel share is what goes up, right? Right, what goes up. And if you ever heard of the term the devil's cut, usually you see that on Jim Beam devil's cut. What it means is that the part that stayed in the wood.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Makes sense? Right. So when you walk into a rick house, the higher you see a barrel, is a different proof. You can take 3 barrels and put them, give them same entry proof. One at the bottom, one in the middle, one on top. After 4 years, proof is going to be completely different on all 3.
Wow. So which one's going to be higher?
Definitely the one that is at the lower barometric level.
Really?
If it was higher up, because temperature, what did they say? Heat does what? Heat rises.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. But I would go ahead, Johnny.
Oh no, go ahead, man. Because my question is like, I'm saying we're going to school, man. My question is different when we talk about. I was going to say something in regards to like, so Jack was talking about how you're more fluent in Scotch. Scotch is your lane. You know what I'm saying?
I would say Scotch is where I start. Remember, I was born and raised in West Africa.
Yeah.
And in most African country, single malt is what we drink.
Yeah.
Okay. We bourbon is not what we speak, because we are colonized by European countries. Yeah. So single malt is what we drink. Wine, because we are colonized by French people, wine and single malt is what you drink. So if we drink it, if Scotch is what I know.
Yeah.
Bourbon is something I had to get into, because if you really look at bourbon, by definition, as an immigrant, that used to be the white people drink.
Oh, come on.
Because when you walk in the bar as an immigrant, what you see on the wall, if you walk in a white bar, you see only 3 major things. You see the Jack Daniel thing there, and you see the Jim Beam thing. So bourbon is not something you go to.
Yeah.
But Scotch is what you grew up with, because that was on the table. Your dad had that on the table. You had probably your first sip of Scotch when you were a freshman in high school. So I know that forward and backward. But I can speak about any spirit. I'm certified to talk about any spirit.
So Jack, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I got a question, because we kind of jumped the gun at the beginning, right? Because Jack was taking us to church for a minute, dog. No, you listen. I was just sitting there, bro, like, yo. So my question is, how did this passion start for you? Like, where did it stem from? I know it's a part of your culture. You know, I know, something you know. Okay, talk to me. I'm jumping ship. Talk to me.
So I literally started talking about spirit out of necessity.
Okay.
I tell people that I know whiskey was good because I'm a terrible golfer.
Yeah.
So if I go back in history, back in 2012, I was a manager at a gas station.
Yeah.
And my mentor, a brother called Anthony Searcy, was starting his insurance agency. And he would come every time. He was buying a house right by my gas station. And he would stop in. I'm saying 2010. That's back in 2010. My daughter was 2 at that time. And he would stop in to get gas. And every time he would stop by, he would chat with me. And one day he stopped in and said, "Hey, brother, I've been coming here for a while. I love your personality. There's some shit that you can't just teach people. And I want you to come work with me." Now, mind you, I was 4 years in America, didn't know a lot about anything. I'm like, this guy probably trying to lie to me and trying to, take advantage of me. That wasn't it. He really saw something in me. Long story short, he ended up bringing me on with him. And he's the one who bought me my first pair of, my first suit. He wanted to bring me in the professional world. And one thing he told me, he said, "You cannot be a black man being a professional and you don't have more than one, at least more than one arrow in your quiver, right? That means you need, it's like you got one already. You speak multiple languages. That's good. Can you golf? Do you have something interesting that people, because one of the things I've learned from him that I tell people, my employees today, is people only do business with people they like. But for someone to like you, y'all got to have something in common.
Yeah.
So he started bringing me in. He was originally born and raised in Pensacola, so a Florida boy. So he's like, one thing we do in Florida is we golf, because you got to be good. At least that's where most business deal happen. Yeah. He will always take me all the time to go golfing. But by God, by the time we're done training and practicing them swing, I probably dig a whole like a whole pond with my team. But one of the things he always tell me is that when you come on a golf course, I needed to bring 3 things. Need a change of clothes because you don't want to stink up anybody. Bring some water. You want to stay hydrated, and always bring favorite spirit.
Oh, okay.
He's like, you can meet someone on the golf course and everybody want to have a drink with someone when they're on a golf course. Yeah. One of the things I will always do is I'll bring spirit in. But one thing I realized is that, my accent at that time, 12 years ago, was much thicker, and it wasn't really what it's supposed to be. But everybody loved what I brought in because I always bring Scotch. Yeah. But one of the things he told me at that time is that I realized that everybody's loving the Scotch thing you're doing, but don't stay stagnant. Yeah. Learn more. So I'll always bring Johnny Walker because that's what we've always drank. But one of the things he told me is like, hey, we were driving one time and I'm like, oh, I closed this deal. This guy loved this Johnny Walker. And he said, have you ever heard of Johnny Walker Green? And I said, no. I'm like, there's no Johnny Walker Green. He's like, nah. It's like, I keep telling you, you need to learn more. Yeah. Be an expert in everything you know. You bring in Scotch, don't stay at the low level. You need to bring something that impress your guests right away. Yeah. And that's literally how it started. I started by just digging deeper into Johnny Walker, knowing that I can go from the red to the black, double black, green, blue, Louis the 14, George. I went all the way in, right? And then I realized, okay, I like peated whiskey, Lagavulin. I jumped in, right? And then I started digging in further and further and further. Now I became the expert in it. I started talking to people, but in my community, everybody is like, when they know you know some. What I did in college to make money is I was an MC. That's literally what I did. I MC weddings because my English was better than most people that were around. And a lot of people were marrying American women. Yeah. So they're like, well, we need an MC that can talk to white people because if we use our African accent, they don't hear anything we're talking. Yeah. While we setting up weddings, what happened? They go, hey, what should we have on the bar? Yeah. I start helping people put things up on their bar. Start telling people what they should have on the bar, what I've learned, what I need to know. Now I started doing tasting with friends. Now every time there is a party, like, hey, you need to make sure Jack is here because he can help us. He can help us. What do you call it? He can help us. Get all the whiskey we want.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that for a long time, and I became the guy that when I go to close a business deal, people are looking more forward to the bottle I'm gonna bring with me than the deal that we're about to do. Yeah. But I never actually thought of myself as someone who wanted to be out there till the beginning of the pandemic. I was home, I was bored, and guess what?
Opportunity.
My best friend is like, dude, we out here in your basement. You teaching us all these things about this whiskey. Yeah. You got all this shit in your basement. What's up? Yeah. And he's like, you are good at speaking to people. You should totally take this thing outside. Yeah. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. Everybody knows me as the insurance guy. I don't want to be the other guy. Yeah. So, but he convinced me. And at that time, with all the things that were happening in the country at that time, I actually made a major move as I left what was called the cozy side of town or the white side of town, because I was joining a board at that time, taking care of, the minority part of town. Yeah. And somebody on the board say, how you going to handle black people problem, but you don't even live in their neighborhood? Yeah. Right. So I say, you know what? That is true. Right. I cannot fix the problem if I'm not part of the problem. So there was a new development starting around the hood. It was literally where the gangs, like the park, that's where they shoot. Yeah. And they were just revamping that area. So we are like, we gonna come here. That's where we gonna be. So every time my friend will make fun of me, like, oh, dude, you live in the hood now. You live in the hood now. And I understood by living in the area that it wasn't just about me.
Yeah.
Doctors live here, right? Yeah. People been living here for years, right? Of course, every now and then you got a crackhead on the street that want to show you his dance moves so y'all can battle it up and give him $1. Yeah. But the one thing I realized when I was talking about whiskey is like, well, what would you call yourself? I say, I want to teach whiskey to everybody.
Yeah.
I want people that look like me, that when they walk in the store, people not only discriminate them, but can never believe that they're buying that high-end bottle. Those are the people I want to teach more about whiskey. Yeah. So just like the hood is, I want to build my own hood from the crackhead to the doctor to teach everybody walking in the spirit industry about whiskey.
Yeah.
I wanted a name that said that I'm a spirit connoisseur, but I also wanted a name that when you hear it, you're like, that's probably a black man walking in.
Yeah.
The word that we use in French to talk about spirit connoisseur is a sommelier, not necessarily a wine guy, but it's a sommelier, meaning a spirit connoisseur. They were actually the hustlers of the empires and kingdom back in Europe. The sommelier was who you would talk to if you wanted the king to drink something. Because they're the one who always told the king, hey, this bottle is from this vintage, from this family. One day we're going to talk about how Hennessy became popular before it became popular, because Patrick Hennessy has used sommeliers for years to sell his, brandy all around the world before even, people knew about it. So I'm like, I'm going to be the hood sommelier. I want to be that person that when you hear the name, you know what I'm about before I walk in.
Yeah. And Jack, I think a lot of what you said is just like, I can't even sit here and say I developed a question while you were talking, because I found myself looking at the screen in a complete daze and amaze. Right?
Listen.
You know what I mean, Johnny? Like we can sit up here and talk about cigars and wow people with what we know about cigars, but when you start getting into other lanes and understanding scotches and bourbons, and I think you just gave me a new thing that I'm gonna start doing on anytime I close a big deal or open up another lounge or open up another business. Man, I'm gonna bring up whiskey and make sure it's some good shit.
Yeah.
And they were like, man, the cigar guy also brought some great whiskey. And man,
brother, there's somebody that I actually work with that is a realtor. He actually brokered a deal. Are you ready? And in the deal, the person, when they realize that the person buying the house, right? No, the person selling their house is a whiskey collector. They set the deal that in the closing cost, the buyer gonna bring 2 bottles of Blantons on top of the closing cost. That wasn't the paperwork. That's where you know you're good at what you do.
Yeah.
When he sent me a message, I thought it was fun. It was weird. He's like, I'm not even joking. It was the amount, 2 bottles of Blanton single barrel. That was part of the deal of the closing cost. And the buyer has no problem doing that because they both collect whiskey. He said, I don't have the money for you, but I'm gonna bring 2 bottles of Blantons, so we will make up the difference in the price.
Come on, man, talk about some stuff, man. So Jack, coming from West Africa, where it's heavily on Scotch, and then kind of diving into the bourbon side, we're not going to make any more speculations because all our speculation has been wrong today. So we're not going to make any more speculations on what we think we know, right? So understanding the Scotch world, the whiskey world, the bourbon world, break it down to the people, the clear differences. Well, I would say at a basic level, differences of each one. They all come from one family, but they all are different.
Yeah.
Explain
that. We're gonna put it like this. I'm gonna start on top, right? On top, the word is whiskey.
Uh-huh.
Whiskey is everything that been distilled. So that's whiskey, right? On the whiskey, we got a breakdown. We got bourbon, we got rye, we got Scotch, right? And even when we're gonna go on the other side, we can even push a little bit and maybe have some of those finishes, some of the whiskey that they have down that are more bizarre whiskey, Japanese whiskey, right? We got Japanese whiskey, we got Scotch, we got bourbon, we got rye. Now, what makes each category different is location.
Yeah.
Okay, so anybody can make whiskey, but to call something bourbon, it has to be made in America.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? Has to be to be a Kentucky straight, have to be aged at least for a year and 1 day in Kentucky. It have to be aged in an oak container, and cannot be in more than 140 proof in the entry, and have a minimum of 43% ABV. Right, that's what bourbon is.
Yeah.
It has to have one of the major things. It has to have 51% or more corn in the grain mash bill.
Yeah.
That's bourbon. 51% or more corn in the grain mash bill. Opposite to that, which is rye, it has to have 51% or more, percent rye in the mash bill. Okay. Now, Scotch. How can something be called Scotch? It has to be made in Scotland, mature in age in Scotland. Made with a minimum at least 45, I believe, percent of malted barley and any other grain that actually come in. So now we can go into specific. We'll make something a Kentucky straight. We'll make something a barrel proof, or we'll make something a single malt Scotch, because Scotch is also a whole big thing where you have single grain, single malt, and more category underneath of that. Japanese whiskey has to be made in Japan, minimum of 40% ABV when it's actually made, with grain and malt that was actually made in Japan. Irish whiskey, same thing, have to be made in Ireland. So location, because the law were made, for whomever hold, right, the rule to themselves. Bourbon try to be more an American thing because they're trying to hold it for themselves. Scotch also, Scotland, trying to hold this to themselves. So location. Origin, that means you understand exactly where something can come from. But whiskey is a term for everybody.
Got it.
Jack, you got a question?
Go ahead, Johnny.
Oh, no, because this is my question here. Because, us drinkers, like I said, I'm not as fluent in whiskey as I am cigars. But a big question that pops up, even in the shop, at the bar, in regards to whiskey is price reflective of quality? No. Talk to us, man.
No.
Talk to us.
So you have to understand that whiskey in the old days, that was true. Okay. Because the labor, the time, the maturity affect the price.
Okay.
But in nowadays, at least about 4 or 5 years ago, whiskey is now a commodity.
Absolutely.
Whiskey is now a commodity. So inflation effect, hype effect, reports effect. People like me that are doing reviews are affecting the price of the whiskey. Y'all talk about somebody, hey, a big YouTube channel come and say this shit is the best thing ever. It disappeared. It creates scarcity. That means now the person selling it can double the price.
Resale,
or quickly this whiskey can go from just something that no one paid attention to a whiskey that is now the favorite word that every whiskey person hate, allocate.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something that I saw recently that did that, man. Down at the shop, we were drinking on it's the Redemption wheat.
Yep.
We were sipping on the wheat, man. And about last summer, we could pick it up from the liquor store for $33 a bottle, around that price.
Brother, there's so many whiskey I can tell you about that you will lose your mind. And the longer you've been in whiskey, the more pissed off you are when this subject come in. Henry McKenna.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Henry McKenna. What do you call it? Blanton's himself. Yeah. And if you go all the way back when I was in New Orleans and I was teaching class about collecting whiskey, I'm gonna tell you right now, there's this guy, this old man, they're the coolest old man I've ever met. And he was telling me the first time he was told to buy, he said every week he would stop by and buy a Pappy 10. That's all he drank. And at that time, that was about 15 years ago. It's like it was it was 49. It was no 69.99. That's what he bought it at. And the first time he went, I was like, oh, I got this puppy 15. Do you want it? And he's like, oh, how much is it? The guy's like, oh, it's gonna be 89. That day he said, fuck no, I'm not buying $89 whiskey. Are you crazy? It's like, today I wish I bought 10 cases.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, one thing, great question, Johnny. Did that go into yours?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So you talk about price. Does price reflect quality? Does age reflect quality?
Ooh.
Yes and no.
Okay. Talk to us.
Yes and no. The reason why, when it comes to some spirit, yes, age is a big factor. Why? Because obviously what we also need to keep in mind is that these distilleries are paying taxes every day, right? Yeah. They're paying taxes. The longer the barrel is there, the longer, they're paying taxes on that juice, right? They have a rick house that they're storing this juice in.
Yeah.
Remember, they're also losing. I told you about the rick house, the angel share. They're also losing that part of that whiskey every year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So somewhere they are putting in work. They are putting in effort to be able to maintain these barrels.
Yeah.
So they want you to have that optimum quality of whiskey. So does age matter? Yes. I would say about 90% of the time. But you also have to understand some people abuse of this age thing.
Yeah.
Now you have to understand as well that in some spirit, age is a big deal. Yeah. Perfect example, Scotch. The reason why is because in Scotland, unlike in Kentucky or Indiana, their temperatures don't fluctuate.
Yeah.
In America, we lose about 2%. I think it was 2 to 3% in your share of the whiskey every month. Okay, month to 2 months.
Yeah.
They lose 2% a year.
A year or a month?
A year in Scotland.
Okay.
So they don't lose whiskey at all because their temperature don't go up and down. They don't have hot summers and very dark winters. They don't go above 65 degrees.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that unlike our whiskey that can get dark real fast, theirs can be in the barrel for 12 years and still look completely clear.
Yeah. So the darker the whiskey, the longer it sat in the barrel?
No. The darker the whiskey mean that the barrel that it was in either was exposed to a high heat or high pressure, or the type of barrel that was used had a coloring effect that affect the whiskey. So if you age it in a Armagnac barrel, in a brandy barrel, in a honey barrel, all those coloring affect the whiskey. But if it's just in an American oak, charred at a level 3 or level 4 charred, darkness doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So, I don't even know where to go.
So much, dog.
I don't even know where to go. Like, okay. So, talk about the darkness. And actually, one thing that we like to talk about here in cigars is the notes, right? Yeah. I always tell people, I tell my staff especially, if you're going to learn a cigar, learn 3 different things about that cigar. And what I mean by that is learn the origin, right? You can pretty much look at something just like the classification of spirits. You can pretty much look at the spirits and say, okay, this is Scotch, it came from Scotland. Irish, it came from Ireland. If it's bourbon, it came from America. So same cigars, learn the origin. Next is learn the wrapper, right? The wrapper is very important, right? Because just because it looks like a Habano, it could be a Criollo, it could be a Corojo, it could be a bunch of different varieties of Habano wrapper. And then lastly is learn the notes, right? And notes and spirits. I tell people that smoke cigars is one thing you can always pick up on a cigar is pepper, right? You can always pick up on pepper, but the more you learn, the more you smoke, the more you experiment, the more you make sure your palate is hydrated, the more you learn about that cigar, right? So not every time you smoke a cigar, you want to smoke a cigar with a bourbon, or a cognac or a scotch. You want to drink water. You want to refresh that palate. You want to drink a black coffee, something that's going to cleanse it out. So talking about notes, I see that you do get, and I am factual about this. This ain't something you're going to be shaking your head no to. I know for sure that when you post something about a bourbon, you post notes. Now, tell me how you break down those notes when sipping on it. Do you have a first third, a second third, a final third, a cold draw, a hot draw, like we do in cigars? Tell me how you break down the bourbon notes.
One of the things I actually put in, I'm gonna tell you what I'm drinking. I am drinking a Bunnahabhain. This is a Bunnahabhain. Aged in a Moineau Bordeaux cask. So it's a limited release. So it's not, you can't find it always. But if you have a place that have a good selection of Islay whiskey, Islay Scotch, chances are you'll find this Bunnahabhain. It's an amazing Bunnahabhain, but it's a limited release. It's come maybe once every 4 or 5 years. You'll get a chance to actually get it on. So.
Hey Cole, if you're on, I need a bottle of that. So call your manufacturers and call your reps and all that stuff and find me a bottle of that. I'll be by to get it.
Now, before you get excited, do you like peated whiskey?
I don't know, but I'm gonna try it.
So don't start with this one. Don't spend the money on this one.
Hey, you said it's good to have in my collection, right?
Okay, that's what I'm saying. If it is for collecting, it's different than what you can enjoy. So. Because I'm gonna tell you one thing.
Stuff every day.
Anybody that like single malt, Islay, which is where the peated whiskey come from, is a different beast on its own. And I don't introduce anybody into Scotch or single malt, starting with Islay. We finished it.
That's a Scotch.
That's a Scotch.
Okay, I really don't care for Scotch.
That's what you say right now. That's why I told you need to bring me in so I can take you all to Scotch school.
Hey, Japanese family, y'all ready for Jack to be in the building?
When I do Scotch school, I hear people all the time say, "Well, I don't like Scotch," and by the time we leave, and they're like, "Oh, brother, I'm gonna need this one, that one, and I think my wife will need this one and that one as well." That's what happen all the time.
I guess what I really don't like, and I'm not gonna get away from my question because I really need to.
No. So
wait. One thing I really don't like about Scotch though is like, I don't know, like. You get caught up in the Johnny Walker Black Label, Blue Label.
That's not what we be drinking.
I don't like that stuff, man.
That's not what we be drinking.
Okay, talk to me.
When we go to Scotch school is a whole different story, but I'm gonna leave that for when you invite me in.
Hey, no, we gonna invite you in. It's already done. So y'all better get ready for y'all tickets. It's gonna be $300 a person.
So one of the things you have to understand is the same way you describe cigar right now. Is the same thing when it comes to spirit. Okay. So when you're a beginner, obviously one of the 3 major notes you usually get, that's because anything aged in oak truly give you those notes. Okay. First thing you're gonna get, obviously, is vanilla. Vanilla is a normal note you get from oak. That's actually a scientific background to that. The tannins in oak will actually give you that taste of vanilla. Okay, so when you start immediately, you are going to get vanilla notes. You're gonna get oak, and you're gonna get a little bit of that bacon spice, right? Because if they use any sort of rye in your mash bill, you get a little bit of that spiciness, right? Those are normal notes that you get in most bourbon, high rye. And if you get a little bit of that wheat, then you get a little bit of that breadiness in your mouth, right? Yeah. If there's wheat in there in the mash bill. So those are normal notes. But when I talk to people, I always tell them, before we start talking about notes, I'm the weird kid that tell people, where does this whiskey transport you to?
Yeah.
Right? Because remember, we are the sum of our experiences, okay? So if I'm going to compare a note, I'm going to base it on my experience. If I'm looking at you today, Jack, and I say coriander, anise, you'd be like, I don't know that. I didn't grow up on anise. I don't grow up in coriander. But if you from anywhere in the West Indies or from Africa, it's something that you eat every day. Yeah. If I say ginger, you'll be like, oh, I don't know what, I use maybe ginger every now and then. But if I start saying things like barbecue sauce, you'll be like, well, I know what barbecue sauce tastes like. Yeah. So you have to understand, where is the spirit? What memory is it triggering? Yeah. That's where notes start. Right? Yeah. Notes are based on memory. They're based on your palate. That's why I tell people, if you don't like good food, you'll be terrible at picking up notes in whiskey as well. Yeah. The wider your food palate is, the better your whiskey palate's gonna be. Ooh. So if you eat different type of food and you expose your palate to different type of food, if I tell you that something have apple, almond, have peach, vanilla, and has, I would throw some that have ginger with a slight note of paprika. You'll be like, okay, I know all those things in what I eat. So immediately I know what you're trying to get me to. So sometime when people can't even pick up any notes, I say, let's close our eyes. Yeah. Let's have a sip. Where are you at right now? Come on. I was at a conference one time. I would tell you this. It's probably something it's hard to blow my mind. But this thing blew my mind. This guy goes, he take a sip of whiskey, his nose in it, and he have his eyes closed the whole time. He goes, oh my God, I'm back in Montana, walking in the field. My grandpa cows are on the side, and you got that weird smell of that cow dong in there. But on the right there, they're cooking a little bit of a steak, and I'm getting all that steak, that smoke from the steak. And I'm walking into the house, and my grandma is baking this peach pie, and that's all I can get. He just painted a picture for me. Yeah. So I knew exactly. He couldn't pick up the notes or specific note, but he told me where he was at that time. Yeah. So that's where it starts, right? Is unlocking a memory with that spirit. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, if you say a peach pie, I mean, like, oh, are you getting some breadiness? Are you getting a little bit of that almond? Are you getting some vanilla from that peach pie? Are you getting some peach? Or is it fruity? Are you getting some cherry? So then you start asking that question, and now the person go, oh, yeah. I'm getting this one. So that's how I break down what I drink. It has to unlock a memory first before I start breaking down the taste note. Yeah.
Got it. You know, that's really deep. And it's deep in a sense where it forces you, just like cigars do, it forces you to sit down, sit back, and relax. I was just telling my friend the other day, and he made a joke about it last night as I got inebriated on some bullet, which wasn't supposed to happen because my stomach.
Bullet, man.
No, it wasn't supposed to happen. I was on an empty stomach. All I had was a smoothie that day. So, I'm trying to live a healthier life. I got fat. And I'm not trying to be fat anymore. And I'm trying to be Johnny, 125 pounds soaking wet. No, not
160, really. Man. 160.
Johnny said, don't do me like that.
So I was telling him, I said, look, bro. He said, Jack, I think I found what I like. I said, what is that? He had tried some Louis 13, and he was like, I think I'm a cognac. And I said, ain't nothing wrong with that. But just remember this. When you drink, you're not drinking for the feeling. You're drinking for the experience. Yeah. And so he comes to me last night. And it's like, it sounds like you're drinking for the feeling right now. I was like, I said, no, that's not what I'm trying to do. But it just happens to be that way because my stomach was empty. If I had some bread or something like that, it'd been a lot different. So I said all of that to say, one thing that you aspired in closing your eyes and, where does it take you? It takes you back to the point where you sit down and you enjoy it. Yeah. And that's what I tell people a lot about these things that we call luxuries in life, right?
Absolutely.
Cigars is a luxury. Understanding and collecting spirits is a luxury, right? Absolutely. So the last thing we're going to do is sit here and try to rush that process, right? We have to sit down and really understand that process, enjoy that process, to really understand that process, understand the liquor and what we're diving into. You know, we talked about Bardstown earlier. I mean, I had a sip of that, and I began to go on a journey to figure out, you know, I need to collect all the bottles. I want those bottles in my collection, simply due to the fact that I really enjoyed that bottle, right? And a lot of stuff I use this methodology that I used when I first started smoking cigars. I didn't grab cigars based on what the tobacconist told me, because unfortunately, where I was going, that unlike Dapper D's, where I was going, you didn't really have tobacconists that was really knowledgeable in cigars, right? So I was using this thing called appeal effect. So what appeals to me in that cigar that makes me want to pick it up? Is it the shine on the wrapper? Is it the band, which again goes into the appeal effect of it? And you know, I think that's how I started my collectors. Now I just go into stores and I use the appeal effect. But now that we start to learn more and diving into it a lot more with you, Jack, man, I think we're having a better understanding of what it is that we're looking for. Now, Kenneth made a question earlier that said, so did you just make a remark that there's no difference between Macallan and 12 and 18 year? And Jack, I'm going to let you take care of that, but I'm going to make a general synopsis and say the answer is no. And he specified that in the breakdown of understanding the bourbon loss per month versus the bourbon loss per year in Scotland. You lose 2% in America because of the humidity, because of the temperature changes and differences. Yeah. And then you have in Scotland, you're losing 2% a year. So there's a lot of difference into again, Macallan is a Scotch. You have a lot difference in that 12 year versus that 18 year. And I would imagine that a lot of monies, a lot of the taxations that America has that Scotland doesn't have. But I'm gonna yield this question to Jack.
Oh, actually, it's interesting because this actually is a teachable moment. Yeah. Age is a factor. That's why I actually mentioned that age is a factor specifically when it comes to Scotch. Age actually is a major factor because it has to age longer for you to get it. But brother, if you're a Macallan lover, I will urge you to pay attention to the label. Yeah. Because one specific thing about Macallan that is actually quite particular to them is the type of cask they use. Yeah. So when you look at Macallan 18, you realize
it's a double cask, right?
And there's the blue one and there's the black one.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, you got to pay attention, because by reading the label, you understand this one is double cask and this one is just a single cask, or this one was actually aged in a specific barrel. They do a lot of sherry barrels, right? Yeah. Macallan does a lot of sherry barrels. There's a reason why I'm not in my bar right now, because most of the time when I do any interview in my bar, people don't even pay attention to what I say. They're all looking behind me to say what is out there. So if you want to see, if you want, Macallan actually, what I call it is the prestigious brand of Scotch. Reason why is they're the biggest Highland, the biggest in the Highland, but they have casks that were very high premium casks and also have a little deeper complexness. When you look at Macallan to what they have, obviously the price is not for the kids, but it's Macallan 18. I will even ask you immediately, which one? Macallan 12, which one? Because what makes actually Scotch so deep as a spirit is not the color, is not how old it is the type of cask that was used. What make actually Scotch a spirit that is worth exploring is because when you go in Scotland, you're not hearing about master distiller. Yeah. Because they all use malt. They all use malt and grain. That's all it is. There's no mash bill. There's no specific mash bill like in bourbon. But you hear a lot about master blenders. The reason why is because what makes Scotch special is that you can take one cask here, another cask here, and blend it. Did you know that Johnny Walker Green have 6 different blends from 6 different distilleries?
Wow.
But that's what makes Scotch what it is, the type of cask that was used. So when someone tell me about Scotch, and that's when the brother asked also about Lafroig. Lafroig, yes, is from Islay, but the type of cask that is used for Lafroig is not the same. The type of peat even that is used in Lafroig is not the same as Bunnahabhain, right? It's not the same as Bruichladdich. It's not the same as Port Ellen. One of the things when it comes to peated whiskey is the ppm, peat per meter, right? When you're drinking anything from Islay, because there's peat in it, you need to know what level of peat do you have. When you drink a Bruichladdich that's heavily peated, we got 130, 140% ppm versus you drinking a Lagavulin or Lafroig, which is only between 60 and 80% ppm. So again, we can get technical with what we're drinking, but I can guide you in where it falls. Bunnahabhain and Lafroig don't use the same type of cask to actually make, and not even the same type of peat to actually what is smoke their malt.
So Jack, question, man, because I know this is another question that I may be wrong. I'm gonna let you school me. I'm gonna let you teach me here. Is there a great deal of differentiation between or more variation rather between a Scotch and like a regular whiskey? Like a Scotch more is there more, like is it more broader? You can dig deeper than you can a regular whiskey?
But a regular whiskey, again, you just being general, you being broad.
Yeah.
So if I bring you bourbon, rye, and that, I can just say, oh, these are all whiskey. But I think the question you're asking is, when I teach people about Scotch school in Scotland, there's 5 regions of Scotch. So when I say the Highlands, talking about Macallan is because Macallan Distillery is in the Highland.
Yeah,
you're gonna hear somebody tell you about Speyside. You're going to hear somebody tell you about the lowlands. You're going to hear somebody tell you about the Campbelltown, the Islay. So each region have a specific way of making their Scotch and a specific type of cask that they use that bring a difference. When I can give you three Scotch that are all the same proof, maybe even aged in the same cask, but there is a slight difference because of the type of malt they use.
Wow.
So I'm gonna go back to the beginner school on this too. When you talk about peat, like what are we actually talking about?
Yeah.
So think about peat as a. Let me go back in history because I'm a nerd about this. Peat is a fossil fuel. So on Islay, which is closer to the edge of the north, the south end of Scotland. They're close to the water, and a lot of fossil fuel built with all the mountain debris that comes in. On that side, they build fossil fuel that been built up through the years. In the old days, they use that fossil fuel to warm their home.
Yeah.
Now that fossil fuel have a specific smell to it. So some people will equate it to Band-Aid. It smell like Band-Aid. Some people will equate it to it smell like medicine. Some people will tell you that I had this Scotch. It smell like an ashtray, right? It smell like the deep of an ashtray. I will tell you right now. A lot of people that are Scotch drinkers, are a cigar smoker, love peated whiskey because the peat reminds you of that. When you leave a cigar and it burn and you come the next day, that ash that stayed there, you see that after smoke ash that stayed there, that's the first thing you get at the beginning of any peated whiskey. So what they will do is that to make single malt, pretty much you bring in, the malt, the barley in. Malting the barley, just say you wet the barley and let it start germinating.
Yeah.
Once it start germinating, they stop it and they heat it up, dry it out, and then grind it. While you grinding it, they'll usually grind it and put it in. But in some cases, they go, we're gonna smoke it with something while we're drying it. That's the peat that fossil fuel is what they use. Now when they peat, when it's peated, when that malt is peated, that's when they will grind it and now ferment it and give you what you need. So it's a type of fossil fuel that we use in the old days to heat homes. but now is more used to be actually to give that flavor to the whiskey that everybody that is in a peated whiskey love.
Hey, Jack, and that's very similar to like cigars or tobacco when we think about like things like Nicaragua, man. We think about like the volcanic ash and how all those attributes of the soil in Nicaragua give that spice to the tobacco that we love. You know what I'm saying?
It's very, the words are not different. That's when people are talking about cigars and spirit. I say those words are not, those two words are not different at all. There's a reason why the married
just different processes.
Absolutely.
I remember somebody told me, he's like, and I think it's Arnold Schwarzenegger that was about to smoke his cigar and said, if you really love a spirit, the first thing you do is you actually take your favorite spirit and you wet your cigar with it first before you light it up. Ooh. That he had a video. If you look it up,
and we was in our mind, we were like, "What the hell is he doing?" Like,
and the reason why, because those two things marry very well. Those two words may be different. They may be different, but it is. I tell people all the time: if you smoke cigar, you have to be able to explore. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I will tell you, for the longest time, the first 6 months I smoked cigar, I did not get them close to bourbon or any whiskey at all. I only did them with cognac and Armagnac because I needed the sweetness.
Yeah.
Right. I needed the sweetness. So that sweetness, I knew for sure I could get that from either cognac, Armagnac, and even Calvados. Those actually bring you the sweetness I needed in the whiskey, because for me, when I started, I'm like, this is way too harsh.
Yeah.
So I couldn't go in with the type of whiskey I wanted. I graduated from cognac and Armagnac and moved on to bourbon, then moved on to single malt, then moved on to peated whiskey. Yeah. So if someone say, "Oh, what do you think will be the first thing to start my journey with as a cigar smoker?" I say we need to start this with cognac first. Then let's move to Armagnac because it's a little much stronger. Then let's, Armagnac or any cognac or brandy, then Armagnac. Then we move on to bourbon. Then we move on to Scotch, and then we move on to anything that is strong and peated.
Man, you just literally blew my damn mind with that one, and I don't even think you purposely tried to. The part that's mind blowing is understanding now. Like, I really don't care for cognac, and I don't necessarily care for cognac. I never understood why. And I think it's the sweetness that I don't really care for.
Yep.
And now, like, especially coming from, talking about my friend, right? Coming from somebody that said, "Hey, Jack, I think I found it." It makes sense now because he, on the other end, is not really big into, like, the spices and the earthy notes and the dark chocolate notes that come in cigars. He's more of a fat bottom Betty type of guy. Like more of a a very mild connect. Well, you didn't go that route with the La Bulla.
No. But I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you the reason why I was staying away from cigars because my experience was somebody gave me a Robusto or Toro right away. When I started, I'm like, and I just hated it because he messed with my palate for like 4 days. But then when I was asking for that sweetness, my friend actually Tiffany in DC is like, "You know what? I got you." Yeah. And she sent me like 4 or 5 different type of fat bottom Betty, and she said, "Have that one." As a matter of fact, when I graduated to the peated whiskey, I didn't go with the Connecticut or anything. I actually went with those fat bottom Betty and acid first because it was sweet.
Yeah.
To try with my peated whiskey first before I started even going to the some of the heavier, more dark chocolate cigars.
Now, Jack, you said something. Now, we cigar connoisseurs now. Okay, so now we got to educate you. All right, we got to educate you. A Robusto and a Toro is the size of it, just as
But when I tried that Robusto, I didn't like it.
But I guarantee this. I guarantee that fat bottom Betty that you came in that you actually smoked was either a Robusto or a Toro.
It's a Toro. It was a Toro. I paid attention to that.
So now you're dealing with size versus origin or versus classification of rappers. So I think more or less than anything, if I don't know where you're at in your cigar journey, but if you're looking for a natural sweetness that's not necessarily Fat Bottom Betty, a Candela wrapper, a green wrapper, you're talking about the beginning stage of the fermentation that is actually happening. You know, when you see a green wrapper, and a lot of times they're barber pulling those to go with a Maduro or a Habano Maduro, and the purpose of it is because the Candela naturally gives off a sweet taste. Yeah, it's a balance. So
y'all are schooling me now.
Hey, look, we've been getting schooled this whole time, so I was like, yeah, I got my time. But no, understanding that though, as I was stating it, kind of how you reaffirmed on that, it makes sense why people are like, man, I want X, Y, and Z. And I even told him, I said, well, if you're gonna go with cognac, you can't go with just a regular Remy or a Hennessy. Like you can't do those. Like you're talking about the basic. It has to be an XO and above. It has to be like a Hennessy XO.
This guy is preaching what I preach people all the time.
I'm trying to tell you because now I understand, but I never understood why.
But also there is also a reason why.
Okay.
Talk to us.
You know how we tell people there's level to this shit.
Yeah.
Right. There's level to this shit. Actually, I hate that. As much as cognac is marketed to us black people, no one comes and tell us that there's level to this shit.
Yeah.
Right. They just go, oh, we're gonna sell you the bottom barrel of this thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what you can afford.
Yeah, come on, you better preach.
I will be honest and tell you right now, the only time I've had a VS cognac was because I had to do a video. You will never see me drink VSOP.
Yeah.
Never. Even when it comes to Armagnac, it has to be a high-end VSOP before even I touch it. If we're not talking... If we are not starting an XO, we're not going to Grand Cru. If we're not going higher up into a Petit Champagne, Grand Champagne, or anything above that, I don't drink it. And it's not me flex, it's not me being bougie. Is I know the maturation process. I know how long the juice been there. I know you cannot wake up in the morning and call something XO if it didn't go through something.
Yeah.
Right. You cannot call something Grand Champagne or Petit Champagne or Dash if it didn't have a specific thing. So they are literally even more strict in cognac, Armagnac, and Calvados than average spirit. You can't put anything on. French people don't play that game. So the funny thing is the VS and VSOP is usually the bottom of the barrel that we are marketed to because that's what is easy to put on a bar.
Yeah.
That's easy to have on a bar because it's affordable. But the first time I had Hennessy Paradis, I was like, okay.
Yeah. Goes a little different, right?
The first time I had a 1979 Armagnac, I was like, okay, I think I saw where Jesus came from. I know exactly where that was, right? You know, when you have anything, what I like to say, when you have some good shit,
yes,
your palate now knows. It's like somebody sitting in the Beamer, right? And the whole life you drove a 1990 Camry. You know the difference right away.
Yeah.
Right away. So that's kind of what it is. I tell people all the time, you have to study and level up. When someone walked to me and say, "Oh, I like cognac," it's like if I walk to you and say I like cigars. Obviously, your normal question would be, which one you like?
Yeah. Like.
Why? What you into? That's what I ask. Oh, I like cognac. Oh, which one? Oh, just the regular Henny. Nigga, if you don't get the fuck out of here, like don't walk to me with that bullshit.
That's it.
We may as well just get you some Parmesan and I mean that's what it is, right? That's what it is. If you cannot tell me exactly what you are. If you didn't take your time one time
my God.
to get out of your own comfort zone and just go, hey, you know what? Today when I walk into that bar, I'm not gonna ask for the regular Hennessy, right? Let me splurge a little bit. Let me have that VS. Let me have that VSOP. Let me have that XO. Let me have that Paradis. Oh, $25, $30 a pour. I'm gonna spoil myself one time. Let me taste it. So at least I know that the Lord didn't intend me to just be poor like that. You know what I'm saying?
You know, and I think I think you're absolutely right, because you know it all came to play, and since we're talking about cognac, and we have to talk about my homeboy that I was telling him. I was like, as it all came to play, that's the first thing I went to. You know, he had drunk Louis 13. So you're talking about at a bar $350 a pour. So you had $350 a pour, then that means you can go out and buy you a nice bottle of cognac, man. You need to stay away from that basic ass shit. And just like in cigars, man, don't come in here talking about, man, you want a goddamn
put good shit in your body. That's all we saying. Put good shit in your body.
You don't want no.
If it's gonna kill you to begin with, it might as well kill you the right way. You know what I'm saying? That's what I tell people. If you love whiskey, don't be stagnant. Apply the same rule you apply in life to things you know, to what you enjoy as well. It happen in any sport. Somebody who likes sneakers, right? You say you like sneakers. I bet you ain't rocking the Air Force, the Air Force Blacks every day. You know what I'm saying? Why you gonna tell me the best sneakers you ever had is Air Force Blacks?
Yeah, listen,
everybody gonna look at you with your McDonald's looking ass, McDonald's employee manager looking ass. Get the fuck out of here! No one wants to hear that.
Hey, Jack, a comedian too, boy. Get the roast in their ass.
That's like you. There's a reason why people look at people and go, "Hey, this nigga here got some Air Force One black energy," because your ass ain't just you ain't that. So when you coming with that Henny energy, I'm like, okay, are we at a barbecue? Are we at a get together? If we're not at the get together where Data and them gonna come drink all your liquor, so you buy the cheap shit so they can have it, we talking about you, yourself, and you, right? Why can't you just go splurge a little bit and get some good for your own soul?
Yeah, that's it.
I may be poor, but I ain't gonna die just eating poor people shit all the time. I'm gonna get at least one nice shit. Even the nigga that got the money got one of them Yeezys that he didn't spend the whole year, saving for, because that's what he want.
Yeah, come on now.
You better preach
it. So JJ, man, that's my homeboy out in Bahrain, man, and James, man, that's a good brother. He said, as a novice of whiskey, I found that Uncle Nearest 1884. Is there another recommendation you would give?
So you guys have to understand. I tell people you need to know the category of whiskey you're in. So Uncle Nearest 1984. I don't know if it's the old one or the new one. I was lucky enough to be with Victoria Butler. Shout out to Uncle Nearest for holding it for all the black people out there. Uncle Nearest make amazing juice, but it's Tennessee whiskey. So if we're going to talk about Tennessee whiskey, we are talking about Blue Note. We are talking about Jack Daniel. We are talking about what do you call it? Who else is making juice out of Tennessee?
Is Jim Beam out of Tennessee too?
No.
Out of Kentucky.
But the three major Tennessee whiskey immediately that I can call out of my head is Blue Note, is Uncle Nearest, is Jack Daniel. So another thing as well, when you exploring the Jack Daniel to get something close to 1984, the new Jack Daniel 10, people say that it's comparable to that 1984. So Jack Daniel is actually getting out of the way now, where it's not the regular Jack Daniel. You have some barrel pick Jack Daniels that are happening that you can actually get, specific flavors. The Jack Daniel 10, the barrel strength rye is amazing, one of the best one out there. When it comes to Jack Daniel. Blue Note is actually quite affordable. amazing Tennessee whiskey. Dickel make Tennessee whiskey as well. I forgot about Dickel. So that's the Tennessee whiskey category, right? So you have to know which category you're in. So 1884 is Tennessee whiskey. What makes Tennessee whiskey special is because when the whiskey is done, they go to what they call the Lincoln County process. The Lincoln County process originated from Africa, that was brought in by Nearest Green, which was a slave in Tennessee that used to work. And that's how he made his whiskey. He used the process that we use back in Africa to filter his whiskey. So that's what makes Tennessee whiskey special.
And I know Jack Daniels is like kind of like the starting point. I tell people that's like coming in and asking for, La Aroma, La Gloria Cubana. Like that's the type of stuff that you ask for when you don't know no better, right? When you don't realize what is actually out there and understand the science and methodology. That's something that I always tell anybody, if you coming in asking for La Gloria Cubana, man, you was a smoker back in the 2000s and you still smoking, right? Like,
get off Google,
man. Like you need to go ahead and get off a cigar bid and really get some real cigars. Like you don't sit around and just smoke like Gloria Cubana, and just like you don't sit around and just drink Jack Daniels. You need to drink some good stuff, man. And I think if anything, if you haven't learned anything from this entire podcast, it's we are putting knowledge out there for you guys to really understand and get built into the processes of trying new stuff. Get out your comfort zone. Jack said that all the time, man. Said it a couple times throughout this segment, man. Get out your comfort zone. Don't drink the bullshit. Don't smoke the bullshit. Only put good stuff in your system. And now you gonna have to tell me. You gonna have to tell me why this Oaks and Eden's not some good shit. I need to know right now.
Why are you trying to get messy?
I need to know right now. No, I need to know right now why this is not no good stuff, because I feel some type of way. This is a limited selection that was picked by one of the local liquor stores, and I don't like the fact that you knocked it. It's like you need to get some good shit. Like you need to tell me why this ain't no good stuff. Like it's 57% alcohol. It's 114 proof. Yeah, got a little spice to it.
What? Okay. Read on it. Read. Let's go back to school. Is there the little stick in there?
It is.
Is there a stick in there? Okay. All right. Oh. I'm gonna try my best to actually not.
No, I need you to tell
me. A hater. Okay.
No, you need to be a hater, because we cigar haters around here too.
No. We'll tell you when you're smoking some, because everybody. Like I'll be honest with you and just tell you that I never had Okanidi.
Oh, okay.
The reason why is the concept behind the whiskey.
Hey, don't do that, Darnell. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Jack Daniels is the La Gloria Cubana of whiskey. You don't do that. You're not gonna disrespect me over here, man. I need to know.
Oh man. So the reason, the one of the reason why is I never understood the concept of keeping a stave in your whiskey. That's why I never understood it. I understand the idea behind it. It's ever evolving. The stick is the stave, and it give it the flavor that you need to. But for me, it's a little gimmicky.
Yeah,
that's how I felt. It's a little gimmicky because if a lot of people use stave. Maker's Mark use staves to age their whiskey, and 291 in Colorado use staves they use aspen staves. A lot of distillery we use staves, but having it in the whiskey, does it make it any more special? I don't know.
So the real reason behind the discontent is the fact that they ain't sent you something to sample yet.
No.
I know.
Here's why. Actually, locally,
we need to get to it, because you just ran around that question.
No. But what I'm telling you here is, I'm sure it's a good whiskey, but I don't want to come and taste my whiskey every day, and the taste is changing.
Gotcha.
Because one thing is going to happen to that whiskey you have right there. When you open a whiskey, right, and have that neck pour, oxidation start.
Yeah.
Right. Now, when oxidation start, that means that the flavor is gonna evolve.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes when people walk to me and say, "Oh, I had this whiskey, I opened it, I had it, I really didn't like it," I say, "Give it a time.
Yeah.
Give it a time. Let it sit for a little bit." I have whiskey that I opened 2 years ago, and I go back and I pour, and I'm like, "Oh, now that it has time to settle, I kind of like how it is." Right. So you got that oxidation in. So now, is it gonna get better? Is it not? I don't know. If it's just oxidation only, I'll be like, I'm fine with it. But if it's oxidation and then the stave is still affecting the taste, I'm not getting consistency. That means if today you're like, can I pair Oak and Eden with my, Cohiba or my Maduro, or you tell me that, I'll be like, it depends on the day.
Yeah.
If you open it right now, it may be different, but if we come back 6 months from now, it may be a little different. But if you ask me today, can I, let's go with something very simple. Woodford bourbon. I'll be like, Woodford is Woodford.
Yeah.
So you can pair it with this one. I thought, you know what? I know that consistently every time I pair it with this cigar, these are the notes that I get. So maybe because I'm a purist, right? I'm more of a purist when it comes to whiskey. So I don't want you to give me gimmick.
Yeah.
That's the reason why. Now, if Open Eden is like, oh, I can prove you wrong, they can. But till they prove me wrong, that's where I stand.
Yeah.
That's all. That's not that. So that's what I'm saying, that because I knew we're going to smoke some cigar and we're going to drink something, if you are trying something and I got to go in and grab a bottle, I want to make sure that it's a bottle that both you and I can agree on at least the taste.
Yeah.
All right. You can be tasting something and I'll be like, 6 months from now, you're like, Jack, I fucking hate this bottle.
Yeah.
Why? Because the taste changed. That's all.
Makes sense.
That's what I'm saying. I put it in the sense where it's not like I'm hating what you do, because every idea is a good innovation, but it's for somebody. It may not be for me, but it's for somebody.
Yeah. And that's how cigars is. We say there's no such thing as a bad cigar. It's a cigar for everybody.
Absolutely.
And that same thing with whiskey. Kenneth, I'm going to hit on your question then. Jack, we're going to get into kind of our wrap-up question, right? And so when you talk about La Gloria Cubana, we always talk about how things used to be, right? And which is why a lot of people talk about La Gloria Cubana, because at some point in time it used to be a good cigar. And when I say that, I'm gonna put that in the same category as Macanudo. I'm gonna put that in the same category as Cohiba. I'm gonna put that in the same category as anything else that you used to smoke in the 2000s. Oliva is a good one. They all used to be good.
Why y'all hating on Oliva?
I like Oliva. I don't have no problems with it. Now everything else I'm hating on, but everything like I actually like Oliva. But like Gloria Cubana is like one of those things where you go to McDonald's and say the double cheeseburger back in 2010 was a lot different from the double cheeseburger back in 2022. Why? Because it went through some type of process to realize I have to make more of this. And I had to utilize I had to have the same amount of resources to make more when I did in 2010 when I had the same amount of resources to make less. Yeah. So same concept. When EP Calero is hands down one of the best blenders out there. Again, when Nestor out of Palencia, AJ Fernandez. I mean, a lot of people would smoke AJ Fernandez, be like, oh my God. Back in the day when they first started, it was shitty. Yeah, that's not the same tune we're singing now. Anything that AJ puts his hands on now is goddamn. It's straight gas. Yeah. So, La Gloria Cubana is now owned by General, which goes through a lot of different changes in order to keep this stuff going. So that's why I say, don't come to me, don't come to my lounge asking for La Gloria Cubana, because I'm gonna tell you I don't have this shit.
I never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's trash. Don't worry about it. It's a good thing. Well, I mean, smoking 2 years ago, shoot, I don't expect you to learn about that. But one thing that I want to talk about as we get into the wrap up, and I'm about to put the center back on you, man, because I want this to be focused on you. I'm into bourbons. I'm into growing my collection. We already realized that there is a difference. There's a starting point. If you're gonna start when you want something more sweeter, go with a cognac. Get into the whiskeys. Get into the scotches. Get into the peated. I want you, because I'm a bourbon collector, so we're only focusing on bourbon right now.
Okay.
Right? And then we're gonna get into scotches as well. So start thinking of them.
Okay.
If there was 5 bourbons I must have in my collection, what are they?
Yeah.
So I cannot answer that question for you.
I need you to figure something out.
The reason why is you see how we schooling each other. I'm gonna school you right quick.
Yeah.
Talk to us.
Palates are different.
Correct. You cannot call yourself a collector.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not 2 things. You are not a nerd, a whiskey nerd.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or a whiskey whore.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's why. How you collect, you never taste it.
Yeah.
But shit, I taste everything I collect.
You see? But that's how a good collection starts, right?
Yeah.
By knowing what you're tasting and why you're collecting it.
Right.
Now, the reason why I say you got to be a nerd is because you need to understand what you are collecting.
Yeah.
Based on your palate, because there's 2 ways to collect.
Yeah.
1 for drinking, or 2 for money, right?
Yeah.
To transfer it as an asset. Now I got bottles that I bought from a set of bottles that I already tasted that are for investment.
Yeah.
And I got bottles that I bought because I can tell you from A to Z, all the way to when I shake the hand of the master distiller, how that whiskey is made and why is it that I like it. So you can't use the word collection if you're not a student of what you're collecting.
Yeah.
So if you say what 5 bottles, I can tell you 5 bottles. If you're a beginner in whiskey, what you should start with. I can tell you 5 bottles if you're somebody who likes sweet things, what you need to start with. But I can tell you 5 bottles that you have to start your collection with, because the question I'm gonna throw back at you is, why are you collecting it?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of it?
Mm. So I guess my biggest purpose is, it a lot of it has to do with the impression of collecting, right?
Okay.
When I say, hey man, I got this hard to find bottle in my collection, right? Like I have a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle 10 in my collection, right? I never even drunk it, but I knew damn well that if I want to collect something good, then you need to have the good shit in your collection. Now, one thing I do always, no matter what I'm collecting, is as soon as I get it, not as soon as I get it, but throughout the couple of days after getting it, I'm going to pop the seal, I'm going to pop it open, and I'm going to taste it and see if I actually like it. If I don't like it, then that's going to be the stuff that I'm going to give to the people.
You're doing it the wrong way.
See, talk to me, man.
Because here's what I tell people, especially if you're new into whiskey or you are new into collecting. Your whiskey bar should be your best friend.
Yeah.
Because your whiskey bar always get the whiskeys you want to collect.
Yeah.
The one thing I tell everybody is that during the release season, I'm best friend with the bartenders at the 2 whiskey bars I visit. Even when I'm not there, they will leave me a 2-ounce sample that I buy.
Yeah.
Reason why is because I'm never going to spend money on a whiskey that I have not got a chance to taste yet.
Makes sense. Come on now, preach.
So every time you do something, make it as a date night with your partner. Make it more as a thing that you and the cigar banker do. We'll meet every month at this place. We're gonna have some pours.
Yeah.
Why? I'm coming in just to try shit I think I want to buy, but I didn't get a chance. I don't want to go spend the money yet.
Yeah.
Because you can know all the specs of a whiskey, right? Somebody may even tell you, brother, this is the best thing in the world. And you have it and you go, man, I don't like it.
Yeah.
You just save yourself the money.
Yeah.
You save yourself the time, and you save yourself all the headache You could move that money towards another bottle that you know better.
Yeah, come on now. You better preach.
So
I never even thought about it like
that. Make it a thing. Y'all go on date night. Either it's a Friday, Saturday, or whatever day y'all got. Hey, we got dinner. Let's swing quickly by that whiskey bar. Let me have a pour. And look on the shelf. Go, hey, I never had that. Can I have a pour of that?
Yeah.
The least you actually spend is $15, $20. That's all you wasted. That's it.
Yeah.
Versus $89,
$100, $200, $300.
Yeah.
So I never will advise anybody. Those are the mistake I made.
Yeah.
Those are the mistake I made. I got bottles right here that somewhere when someone is having a birthday or something they're celebrating, they don't know about whiskey. I say, there you go. There you go. Have it. Why? Because those are my mistake. I literally said one time I was on my live on Monday, I said, I have a wall of shame.
Yeah.
My wall of shame is whiskeys that I bought based on Reddit, based on YouTube, based on something, and I opened it and I was like, Jesus Christ, I this doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah.
Don't have a wall of shame. Don't you have a wall of shame?
And I think it's a lot different in cigars too, because kind of the same concept, but it's like, I guess the buying the bottle was more like buying the box.
Yeah,
buying the box of cigars.
Yeah.
You never go buy a box of cigar if you never tried the cigar.
That's a fact.
Unless I know the blender.
Yeah. You know exactly. You know what you're gonna say. You know the blender. So if someone tells me right now, like my favorite master blender is Rachel Berry. She worked for Ben Riach, and she's the one who does Glendronach and all that. If they tell me Rachel Berry actually blended something in Scotch, I'm not even gonna look for it. I'm not even gonna taste it. I'm gonna have it right away.
Yeah.
Because I've had so many of her things that I know exactly that she never miss. Yeah. So if she miss, this is something I'm gonna go on YouTube and talk about, because I'll be like, hey, Rachel,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think we are the voice of the people. So it's our duty to remind everybody, the same way in cigar, you buy a stick, you like it, you buy a box. Yeah. The same way you be best friend with your, and I would say start frequenting the high-end whiskey place.
Yeah.
The one that have always the exclusive shit. Because you'll be surprised at a pour, they have and ask them, do you guys have special nights? They will tell you, because during the week, sometimes people don't come in. Yeah. So they have half price pours. So guess what? Those are the night I go in there, and maybe a $30 pour is not $15.
Yeah.
The first time I've always wanted to try Booker's 30th. Booker's 30th anniversary. I'm like, I always want that. I always want to try it because I collect Bookers, but I never had that one. And somebody wanted to sell it to me, but I was like, some of these Bookers are good, but they're not really good. This one is too expensive. And one day, buttfuck nowhere, South Dakota, I walk into a bar and they had 25 and 30th there. And as I'm asking for whiskeys, she proceeds to tell me, it's like, hey, today's our special day. We're doing half-ounce pour. I go, hey, how much is that? Then I go, normally it's $50 a pour, but we're doing it for 25. I say, pour me some. And she was new. It was my lucky day because she was new. She didn't really know how much to pour. She poured me 2 ounces. It was like an ounce that she's supposed to pour me. Pour me 2 ounces. It's when I was drinking it, when I had asked for a second one, that the manager walked in and went, hey, why are you pouring that much?
Yeah.
Because she was like, hey, sound like me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when I had that night, immediately I'm like, I'm getting one. And if I can, I'm going to get two. Because I know exactly what this thing tastes like, and it's worth every part of that $500. You know what I'm saying? So we are the voice to motivate people to truly do the right thing the right way. Start going in. If we are telling you to go drink, if you're a cognac person, go drink Hennessy Paradis. Hennessy Paradis is almost $600.
Yeah.
No, I'm not telling you go buy a bottle, but next time you go to your high-end cognac place, ask them if they have it, and you can have a pour. Even if it's a half-ounce pour, half that. Because at that time, guess what? You just know exactly what you need to, what you need to have it there or not. And now you out here chasing when they go on sale. Yeah. You jump on it right away, like, hey, it's out, I'm gonna get it. So,
and that makes a lot of sense. And I'm gonna start doing that. And I ain't gonna put nothing out there in the atmosphere, but because I ain't about to let nobody steal my idea now. But needless to say, it does look like I'm gonna have to take some trips to some whiskey bars because anyway,
if you know, I'm gonna tell you, if you're not friends, like it's like when you're into cigars, right? You know all the cigar places, you know the people that get the good shit, right? At the end, you'll become friends because you share the same hobby, right? I tell people to make good whiskey friends, make good cigar friends, because what you think is gold to you may be just somebody's silver. So I will tell you right now, in my cigar little humidor right there, I probably have about 40 sticks. I bought maybe 5. Everything else is my followers, people that follow me that say, oh, you're new to cigar, hey brother, have a stick. This will be good for you. And the reason why I've been doing that is because I don't know much about it. It gave me the opportunity to try everything on it. That's how I ended up buying a box of Olivas. It's because a brother gave me a couple sticks when I was teaching a Scotch school class. And it's like, hey brother, the way you were talking about this whiskey, I know this stick will be the one that worked for it. And he was right. When I tried that Oliva and the Macallan, I'm like, oh shit. That's the combo right there. But that brother, opened my door to it. So by the time I was getting to my second stick, when I got a chance to buy a box, I bought it right away. So that's the same thing that apply in the industry. You have to try it before you buy it. That's the rule.
Try it before you buy it. There you have it, man. If y'all haven't learned anything between this hour and 49-minute segment, Johnny, I'm telling you, we're getting longer and longer by the day.
Hey, but the information be coming, yo. It's crazy, man.
Hey, it's a fact, bro. It's like we sitting here and we bring in people that is just gonna continue to empower, man.
Absolutely.
And continue to motivate and continue to educate, man. And that's the thing that we all need, man. I learned a lot of stuff.
In the first hour we was in school, yo.
We was definitely in class. Like I almost started taking out my notebook and just started writing. But I realized that it wouldn't look good on camera. That Jack heads down the whole time. He must
listen. I'm learning shit all the time. Everything I told y'all, I had to learn. So ain't no shame on being a student.
No, that's it.
I don't brag about nothing because every day, and even the people that actually tells me, they tell me I've been in this for a long time. Even those people still teaching me stuff. So I'm never ashamed to say, hey, brother, I don't know. Because I can tell you right now, y'all start talking about cigars. That's why when you call me that day, I say, hey, if there is a specific cigar you want to smoke on the show, you have to send it to me because I don't know anything about cigars. I have what I have, and I'm still exploring it. But when you talk about whiskey, most of the time when people say, hey, let's talk about whiskey, I'm like, what we drinking? Because I can go deep in and out.
Kenneth had one question and said, where can we shop here? I don't think, but I'm gonna turn this over to Jack. I don't think he has anywhere that he has a liquor store or anything like that. But
if he's online, I would definitely say go on Sellbacks. Sellbacks does a really good job on offering a lot of things that are quite affordable that can be shipped to your door. They ship to almost every state. So sellbacks.com. Blake and his sister D. She's the one who's the curator. She's in DC. She does an amazing job with that. They have amazing barrel pick. Even when Sealback is SEELAB SEE. Let me make sure I'm in line here. Want to make sure it's Sellback. So It is SEELBACH''S, Silvax. So if you go on Silvax, you will find at least most of the thing. When I do barrel picks now, they actually are gonna go through Silvax as well. When I pick barrels for Hood Sommelier, that's where they go through. But they have a bunch of stuff that even that discovery that you're holding, they try their best to make sure that they have it there. So if you're in a state where you don't get a lot of stuff, that's usually the place to start. There's other website, but I don't know if I want to give y'all everything, because by the time I go look for what I need, y'all done took everything.
Hey, we'll say that for the backstage. We'll say that
exactly.
for the backstage.
Exactly. Y'all I did that one time, and I went to my store and I'm like, hey, you got something today? He's like, 6 people came here and said Jack sent me. They said Hood Sommelier sent me, so I just gave them what they needed. I said, y'all, they used my name and didn't even pay me for it. On God, like y'all they did me dirty.
Man, I see they got even some St. Augustine distillery straight bourbon.
They do. They have almost everything. They have their hand in almost everything. It's a nice website, secure. If you're more into the oldies, if you're more heavy into bourbon, but you're looking for like the fancy thing and you have the money, Bourbon Outfitters. If you've ever been to Kentucky, there's a place called Justin's House of Bourbon. And that's the one thing I'm going to tell y'all as well. One thing I'm going to tell y'all is that don't be afraid to go to the places of where your juice come from. The same way y'all tell people, hey, maybe one time go visit a place where they roll the cigar, so you know exactly how it's made. Don't be afraid. I'm gonna tell you, traveling as a spirit lover or as a cigar lover is a whole different experience as traveling just as a regular schmegular person. You'll be surprised at people you know. I always say I never felt like whiskey people can be predictorial, like, oh, you can't do that, you can't touch this. But one place I'm gonna tell you, I love cigar people. You go to any cigar bar and you feel like home. You strike a nice conversation, people are nice. Hell, people will hand you a stick, say, hey, brother, what are you smoking today? Let's hand it over. So that's why when I started teaching Scotch school, I didn't want to teach in bars. I want to teach it to cigar club because the people there are yearning for a nice conversation while they're having their stick.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's good, man. One thing that we do on the, as we wrap up, man, one thing we do on the virtual smoke deck, we drop gems, man, and I think we dropped a lot of them today, but I want to do one that's more of a personal gem coming from you, Jack. One gem, top of the head. It could be from the heart. It could be about whiskey. It can be about cigars. It could be about life. It could be about anything.
So if you're here,
hold on, wait, come on, let me get your contact.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, I got gems for days.
Well, you know what? I don't need to get no context. This is the guy, man. Go ahead and drop it for us.
So if you're here right now, make sure you go follow me on Instagram. Every Tuesday, I give gems that I call wisdom from Africa. Because I'm from Africa, I tell you things that my grandma then told me, my drunk uncle then told me, and when my dad is mad at me, then gave me as advice through the day. And I hold that very dearly. Some of them don't come out the way they're supposed to come out, but usually we end up learning something.
Yeah.
So what keeps me humble in life is one of the wisdom from Africa that my grandma used to say. My grandma said a toddler can play with his mom titties, but will never dare to play with his dad's balls. He knows the difference between those two things brought him on this planet, but he knows the difference between what he needs to play with and what he needs to fear and respect.
Yeah.
That is one thing that my grandma used to tell me all the time, meaning that you need to know your place as a kid to know, or as a person, to know what you need to play with and what you need to respect.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Facts. Facts from Jack.
That is the wisdom from Africa.
Hey, Jack, we appreciate you so much for coming on the show and just dropping the knowledge that you did, man. Taking the time out. We roll into 2 hours on this show, man, and that's something that we rarely try to do out of respect to your time. But I mean, you took us to school our first hour, so I mean, with all due respect, we appreciate you so much, and taking the time to really come on the show and teach our people, and we admire everything you're doing, man. So just keep it up, man. Keep grinding. And hey, y'all can expect him to be at Dapper D's and here in the summertime for a class, man. You better have your ducks in a row because we ain't doing no $75 class. So you better make sure your ducks in a row. So hey, you heard what I said, Jack. We ain't doing nothing cheap. So
and no, I want you to have a nice experience. I want you to actually have some nice, obviously there is expenses that come into these classes. So if you love what we
boy
talking about into the whiskey, make sure that you spend the money for it. Quality costs. Quality does cost.
Well, Jack, we appreciate you so much for stopping in on the Virtual Smoke Deck, man. We love you. Keep grinding. We'll see you soon. Stay in the background. We want to chat with you for 2 seconds, but until next time, we are gone. Hey, Johnny, man.
Yo.
What in the hell?
Yo, I don't even know what to say, bro. This was.
Boy, I can tell you had nothing to say the whole show.
Yo, this show was like, bruh. Like it was school.
Yeah,
it was
literally.
School. It like the first, it was school. Like, especially since this is our first show, having someone outside of the cigar community. We were students, Jack.
Yeah,
we were students, man. We were students, man, and it was an incredible show because a lot of people fail to realize when I'm talking too much is pairing is a great. Pairing is very imperative when it comes to smoking cigars and really enjoying these luxuries. It's imperative that you pair your cigar with the right spirit. You know what I'm saying? And dude, this show was incredible, man.
And truly understanding your palate. I think that's one of the biggest things that really came out of all of it is understanding your palate, right? Your palate. If you like something sweeter, then understanding now you need to go with a more higher grade cognac.
Yeah, and like Jack said, quality costs, man.
Quality costs, man. Hey, man, let me look at the calendar. Let me see what we got next week. I don't know I think it's just us. It's Easter. It's Easter. We're going to have a show on Easter, though. We're going to have a show on Easter. We're going to have a show on Easter, but we're going to bring the Easter bunny. I'm going to have an Easter head. I'm going to do the whole show. I'm going to do the whole show with an Easter head on my head. No, I probably ain't, but it sounded good. I might try to check and see if Amazon really got one so I can do it. Why not? Hey, man, Johnny, it's been a pleasure, my brother.
It's been a great show.
And I hope you guys really enjoyed the segment, man. I mean, Jack actually, has a huge following, not only on Instagram, but really doing big things out there. Really well known in the bourbon industry. And the fact that we got him on the show, man, is a rarity, man. So big up to Jack. And make sure y'all go support him at the Hood Sommelier on Instagram, man. Until next time, man, make sure you go follow us at on the Virtual Smoke Deck on Facebook and Instagram. If you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and hit that like button, share button, and make sure you ping in with us every single month. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, go to the Virtual Smoke Deck Live. I need to update this. Virtual Smoke Deck Live on Facebook. Press the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, give us a huge thumbs up. I'm Jack, the cigar enthusiast.
I'm Johnny, the cigar baker.
And we are the Virtual Smoke Deck. Until next time, y'all have a great one. Stay blessed and smoke the good shit, not the bullshit. Not that bullshit, all right? We are gone.